We have been building since the dawn of time. Now it's time to build your home service business smarter with ServiceTitan, and Titan Pro Technologies is here to help you navigate and unlock its full potential. Welcome to Titan Talk.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the May edition of Titan Talk. We are so excited to bring you this month's topic. As we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alicia Johnston. I'm the Director of Client Experience here. And my fabulous host of the day, Jennifer Dirks, our Chief Operating Officer at Titan Pro Technologies. So we are super excited to get kicked off. Jennifer, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Hey, we wanted to first kind of start this out like we did last time. We would love for everybody to put in the chat where they are, what state, what line of business they're in, and how long you've been on ServiceTitan. We'd love to be able to see those come through. So let's kind of start with that out first.
Yes, let's see who we have listening in. Love to, get to know you a little bit better. All right.
Let's see. Not seeing anything come through yet. That's okay. Oh, there we go. We've got Ohio water treatment since 22. Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Washington, 5 years.
All right.
New Jersey. I love the name Fresh Cookies.
That is cute.
That is amazing.
That is cute. I like that. Welcome to those of you who are just joining in. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are just getting started. We're just wanting to get to know who our audience is. So we're just asking to throw in the chat where you're from, how long you've been with ServiceTitan, and what industry are you in, or vertical. So perfect. We got Michigan, 4 months. Sully, love it.
So they're just diving into ServiceTitan. They're barely touching everything that there is. Would love to talk with them. That'd be awesome.
There you go.
So I want to go ahead and get started.
Good.
We're going to go ahead and show our presentation so that we can get that up real quick here. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to be going over the ServiceTitan integrations, what to connect, where it breaks, and who owns it. So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Like she said, I'm Jennifer Dirks. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Titan Pro Technologies. And for the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about something that affects every trades business running ServiceTitan. Whether you've thought about it intentionally or not, your integration stack. If you've ever stared at a duplicate customer record and wondered how it got there, this is for you. If your bookkeeper has ever asked why QuickBooks and ServiceTitan disagree by a few $1,000s at month end, this is for you. If your marketing team has ever told you that every lead is a referral and you knew deep down that couldn't possibly be, this is for you.
Today we're going to now, Jen.
Awesome. Today we're going to walk through the integrations that create the most value when they're configured intentionally, and we'll talk about where they break. And we'll talk about the one question that decides whether your stack scales you or against you, which is who owns it. So here's where we're going to spend our time together, right? So within the first 10 minutes, we'll walk through the integration strategy by function. So marketing, sales, dispatch, accounting, customer communications. We'll talk about what to actually connect in each area, and just as importantly, what not to connect. So in the next 10, we'll get into the most important questions in your tech stack. Which system tells the truth? We'll talk about system of record decisions and how to put a name on every integration, because if everyone owns it, nobody owns it, right?
Exactly.
So from 20 to 35, we're going deep in where it breaks. The 7 failure modes we see across hundreds of ServiceTitan tenants, and how to spot them before they cost you money. And then we'll close with a 5-step audit you can actually run this quarter. And then we'll stay on as long as we can for a Q&A as we have time for it. So 2 house rules: drop questions in the chat anytime. My team is watching it, and I'll pause to take them when there's a natural break. And the recording goes out tomorrow. Actually, the recording will be available immediately after this. And then, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to, just be present, right? So before we go any further, I want to be honest about why this matters. Because integration cleanup is an unglamorous work. Nobody puts it on a vision board, but the cost of ignoring it shows up in your numbers every single month. We see clients spending 30 or more hours every month reconciling QuickBooks to ServiceTitan. When the sync starts drifting, that's almost a full work week of someone's time every month, dedicated to fixing a problem that shouldn't exist. On the marketing side, when call tracking isn't routed through Marketing Pro or whatever your attribution tool is, we typically see about 12% of lead source data go missing. 12%. That means your marketing budget decisions are being made on data that's a little bit of a lie. So customer duplicates are the silent killer. Within 18 months, roughly 1 in 5 of our customers will be in your system twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times, unless you have a deduping standard, which means your marketing automation is firing twice. Your service history is split. Your reporting is wrong. And then payroll, I won't put a number on that card because it's different for every shop, right? But if your GPS or timesheet integrations doesn't tie back to the job, you have payroll disputes, and payroll disputes cost you tax. So here's the thing about bad integrations. They don't announce themselves. There's no alarm bell. They quietly tax your team every single week, and the only way to find them is to go looking. So here's what I want to leave you with today. 4 concrete things you can put to work this week. First, an integration map by function. By the time when we finish for part 1, you'll know exactly which categories of tools belong in each business unit, and just as importantly, which ones are duplicating each other. Second, a system of record decision for every major data type: customer, job, financial, marketing. You'll be able to name the platform that owns the truth for each. Third, the 7 failure modes to monitor, the exact breakpoints we see most often, and the simple exception reports that catch them early. These are not theoretical. These are reports you can build this week in your tenant. And fourth, a 5-step audit framework, a repeatable process that can run quarterly to keep your stat clean as you scale. If you take nothing else away today, take this. All right, so let's get to part 1. So within here, right, so there's going to be 5 categories for each. The question is the same. Does this integration earn its seat at the table? So the mission here, right, is to know exactly where every booked call came from without manual tagging. 4 categories that earn their seat is call tracking and dynamic number insertion. So CallRail, Marketing Pro for native attribution. Lead aggregators, so you got your Angie, Networks, Home Advisor, Service Direct. Connect them so bookings flow in, not set in a portal. Review platforms, Nice Job, Podium, Broadly, Trigger, all on job completion, not job creation. Web forms and chat widgets captured as ServiceTitan leads, not as emails in someone's inbox. So where it breaks is lead source overwrites on rebook. Historical attributions lost forever. An aggregator leads bypass call tracking, creating phantom campaigns in your reports. Reviews trigger before the customer's happy or never trigger at all. Form submits land in inboxes instead of on the lead screen. That's marketing. Now the team that takes the call.
And Jen, just before we start, so just backtracking on marketing super quick, as she went through those different connection points, if if you're working with a digital agency or a marketing agency, and you're not sure, or maybe you don't have some of these, channels hooked up, this is a great conversation to have with your team on what's hooked up and what are they having problems with. Because on the whole, and Jen, maybe you can validate this, most aggregators do can integrate within ServiceTitan, correct? I think Yelp may be the only one, correct?
There's several of them. Yelp, actually, I think you can bring into, or it's like Yext or whatever it is.
Right.
But if they can be connected with an API, there's a way to get those booking providers in there. So there's a lot of ways around it. We've got a phenomenal data team that helps and assists with that. So we've gotten some weird stuff in there. So I pretty much think we can get anything in there.
Nothing is off the table is what you're telling us.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yes, if that is something that you are struggling with, again, have the conversation with your agency. And if they don't know, then please, that is absolutely something, like Jennifer said, that's something our team can definitely help look into and provide, any information to help you with that, because it is really important. You're spending so much money on marketing, as we talked about.
You want to see that attribution 1,000%.
Yes. Okay. We can move on now. Just had a point in there.
No, that was a very good call out. Thank you so much. So on your CSRs, right? So your CSR screen should tell them everything before they say hello, right? So you've got your call dialer and screen pop. So of course, clicking the green bubble, that's so important, right? Nurture and speed to lead. So you've got like your Hatch, Podium, follow-ups, unbooked calls. Estimate and proposal tools. So like your Sales Pro, Profit Rhino, quotes that update the job automatically, and then web booking widgets that create actual ServiceTitan appointments, not just leads. Now, where it breaks, right, is unbooked call follow-up never happens because no one built the exception list. Estimate tool not tied to a price book. Sold price doesn't equal invoice price. Online bookings route to the wrong business unit. Screen pop misses on cell versus landline mismatches. And then now to go on to the team that actually goes out and does the work. So we've got our dispatch and field operations, right? So closing the loop on what actually happened in the field. So the main four, again, is going to be your GPS and fleet telematics. So like your Fleet Pro, Azuga, Verizon Connect, those are tied to your techs and your vehicles. Routing and optimization. So Dispatch Pro, we all love Dispatch Pro. Third-party routers, mobile and in-field tools. So your ServiceTitan Mobile, field routes, photo and video capture apps, equipment and inventory feeds. So your Pricebook Pro, supplier punch outs, truck inventory, that type of stuff. Now, where it gets broken is the GPS ping's not mapped to job locations. So there could be payroll disputes that happen from there. Techs working offline, lose data on resync, inventory consumption not posting back from mobile, and Dispatch Pro zones drift from the actual service areas. So zones are quietly the biggest culprit in dispatch frustration. We've audited Dispatch Pro for several roofing clients, and zones are almost always misaligned by year 2. So we want to make sure that those are always being set up as well. On the accounting side, right, ServiceTitan is the operational system. Your GL is the financial system. They must agree daily. And I can't say this enough. My love is and passion is for accounting, that you have to make sure that you are literally sending that stuff over daily. So again, the 4 is General Ledger. So QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, Sage Intacct, and NetSuite. Payment processing is your ServiceTitan payments, Card Connect, AuthorizeNet, ClearNet, like any of your financing as well. Payroll and timesheets, so like Gusto, ADP, Paychecks, they're all fed to the ServiceTitan timesheets and commission. AP and purchasing, so you can use your bill.com, supplier integrations, PO Sync. But where it breaks is the undeposited funds build up in QuickBooks, most common bookkeeper headache I see. That's a big one. That is a really big one. GL account mappings out of sync after a new business unit launches. Refunds posted in one system, not the other. Invoice batch posting fails silently and nobody notices for a week. So if they're not making sure that those exports are going over and monitoring those reports, there's a mess to always clean up later on. Now, your customer communication. So every touch point from booking to follow-up should fire without a human pressing send. So we want to make sure those confirmations and reminders, which is native in ServiceTitan, the pre-arrival text, ETA notifications, review and service requests, podium, nice job, bird's eye, triggered on job completion, membership communications, so renewal reminders, anniversary touches, expiring card warnings, marketing automation, so you got your marketing pro campaigns, email, SMS sequences, and reactivation flows. So where it breaks is your opt-in, opt-out flags not respected across the system. So that's definitely a TCR issue. We want to make sure we're keeping an eye on those. Reviews requested before the customer pays. That's never good. Like we want to get those taken care of afterwards. Membership renewals, texting, texting canceled customers. They get angry. They don't want to call you. They lose your trust. Duplicate confirmations from native ServiceTitan plus a third-party tool. So the pattern's the same. Pick the right tool, decide what they own, and watch them weekly.
And here's a reminder too, before we get off of that, just a reminder to, it's not always set and forget. I know that as you go in and you're creating all of those messages and those communications, I've seen a lot of companies just leave them, and then they forget that they're out there because they are on kind of on autopilot. But it really is best practice. Go in at least quarterly and just make sure, what does that message read? Is the tone aligned with your brand? Has it changed? I also see that where they have their brand change, they get this lovely brand, and they forget that they have all these automated messages going out. So I would
the customer journey.
Yes, exactly. Definitely take a moment to, review them. Again, like I said, quarterly is best practice. Because there's also a lot of opportunity in there as well to remind customers of your value, show them your value, etc. So just wanted to put that little reminder out there as well.
That is a good nugget to always remember for sure. So the system of record and ownership, right? So this is the single most important question in your tech stack. Who tells the truth, right? So defining who your SOR is. So that's the system of record. The one system you trust when two systems disagree. The cardinal rule, call it out. One source of truth per data type. Two systems, both think they own the customer record. You don't have an integration. You have an argument waiting to happen. So which system is the SOR? Name it for customer, financial, and job data. Which direction does the data flow? Is it a one-way push, one-way pull, two-way sync? And at what cadence? What happens in the conflict? Do both sides change the same field? Who wins? Document the rule before you need it. Who watches the sync? A named human checks the exception report on a named cadence. And you can't answer these questions for an integration you haven't audited. That's the part 4, right? So your SOR decision matrix, walk the table row by row, right? So let's don't rush. So there's customer records. That's in ServiceTitan. It's the job history, communications, all live here. Do not dual edit in QuickBooks. Jobs, invoices, estimates. Again, ServiceTitan. Every operational event hangs off the job. Non-negotiable. GL financial statements, which is QuickBooks, Intact, or NetSuite. ServiceTitan posts in, your accountant reads out. Okay. Calls and recordings. So call tracker, audio storage lives there. Metadata syncs to ServiceTitan. Reviews and surveys. You've got a review platform. Reputation history persists across the CRM swaps. Marketing spend and creative. There's the ad platform. Spend reporting needs raw source data. GPS trails. So it's a fleet system. Raw pings stay there. Reference only data flows to ServiceTitan. Pro tip, if you can't name the SOR in 5 seconds, you don't have one yet. You have a turf war. So we want to make sure people are taking ownership on it. Ownership in every integration needs a name on it. Not a team, not a department, one human. So the CSR manager, they should have like the call tracking, web booking, screen pop, CSR scorecard data. Operations managers, dispatch pro, zones, GPS fleet, mobile app, routing logic, controller or bookkeeper. So that's the QB sync, payment processing, payroll fields, GL mapping. Marketing leads. So you've got your marketing pro, lead sources, review platforms, ad spend feeds, GM or owner, decision rights when business units launch, vendor selection, and SR conflicts. If everyone owns it, no one owns it. Put a name in every box. Should it be where it breaks and how it catches? So that's the next section here. 7 failure modes we see again and again. The exception reports that surface them. So the 7 failure points we see most often is lead source attribution drift, rebook overwrites original source, marketing return on investment becomes fiction, customer record duplications, same customer, 2 records, 2 histories, QuickBooks to ServiceTitan mismatch. So undeposited funds builds up, GL doesn't tie. Tax zone and business unit mapping, wrong rate, wrong business unit on the P&L, wrong commission. Tech assignment and GPS drift. GPS time doesn't match dispatch time, payroll disputes. Payment timing and batch failures. Batches fail silently, days of revenue stuck. Membership renewals on dead cards. Card on file expired, sequence runs away. I think you guys are all getting this, right? Like there's so many different things that can cause this to break.
Oh, Jennifer, which one do you see the most out of these 7? Like which one, 1 or 2, I guess, if you can't pick.
I was just going to say, so the biggest thing, right, is I would have to say a lot with the QuickBooks stuff, right? So I get a lot of calls like this didn't work and we've got an export error. And what does this error mean? How do I fix it? And what I find, I think most common on that is somebody goes in to a customer that they've had before and they modify like the name or they, change something a little bit different. Of course, it doesn't speak to QuickBooks anymore. So that's a big one. Tax zones, they're bad too, right? So if we're not watching where our tax zones, if that's set right, sometimes if they don't have it in there correctly, taxes aren't even configuring. Yeah, so I've had those calls a lot of like, hey, we had probably $5,000 in taxes that we should have paid out, but we didn't even know it was there. So there's those are kind of the key ones, right? Because that's where it's going to affect you most financially. So those are the big ones for me, I think, more than anything, and really want to keep an eye on. And of course, with GPS, if I have a lot that really watch where everybody is because I want to make sure they're actually on the job and that it was true. So especially for job costing. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, right?
Good to know. Good to know. Yep. But I definitely see how all of these can, they impact the bottom line. I mean, they impact the wallet and the cash flow. So very, very important.
This is another big one too, is the memberships, right? So ServiceTitan has a great program for that. So instead of having to call that customer and be like, hey, your card's expired, there is a program where they can pay like a monthly fee. And I think every time one expires, it'll actually go out and find what that new card is. Update it, and there's like a little fee to it to every time they do that. So it just kind of saves them that time. So there is a really cool program for that. So
good tip.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things you can do on the backside. So, okay. So the next thing is the lead source attribution drift, right? So of course the problem, right? So original lead source is lost when a customer rebooks. So that's why we always like to have those discussions and workflow options with our clients. of making sure that whatever the marketing is, stick with that marketing, right? Make sure it's going all the way through, even if it's something that they're going to do an install later. We want to make sure that attributes all the way through, especially through the projects and things like that as well. Mm-hmm. Marketing reports show inflated repeat customer numbers, so we want to keep an eye on those. Paid channels look weaker than they actually are. Budget decisions get made on bad data. Lead source, so with what happens, right? So lead source field overwrites instead of preserving history. Aggregator leads come in as web or phone, not the actual source. Mm-hmm. CSR's default select repeat customer on every rebook. That one drives me batty. Or existing customer. That's always the other one. That's one everybody uses. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, they found you a different way. We want to track that all the way through. So anyway, that's a pet peeve of mine. So no single field designated for original source of truth. Mm-hmm. So the fix here, right, is lock the original lead source on the customer record after the first job. So we want to make sure we've got that. Use a separate field for the job's lead source on every job. Train CSRs, never overwrite. Just always select on the job, right? Build a weekly exception report for jobs with blank lead sources, which normally you're looking at like existing customer or referral, right? We want to know where those all trail back to. Mm-hmm. So the next thing is going to be your QuickBooks ServiceTitan reconciliation. So the problem is undeposited funds in QuickBooks balloons over time. Revenue in ServiceTitan doesn't tie to the GL. Refunds and adjustments are posted in one system, not the other. Month-end close stretches from the 3 days to 15. So batch posting fails silently when a single invoice errors. Payment method mapping breaks when a new processor is added. So a lot of times I do see that where people will put in like a new payment processing option, but didn't make sure it was in QuickBooks. So their payments aren't going over where they need to be. It'll also give warnings, but GL account mappings drift after a new business unit launches. So again, if you don't make sure those are connected with QuickBooks, or if you didn't apply the class that needed to feed over to QuickBooks, that can be a problem, especially when adding new business units. So there's some things to really be careful with that. The other call out, just to state it on here, is I find a lot of people who add business units and forget that they need to add it to their payment types for like credit card processing, ACHs, mobile check capture, because the customers will get like a link that says it doesn't work. So another thing, call out there. And nobody owning the daily reconciliation, it just slips on through. I do get into a lot of clients' accounts and I find that they have pages. And pages and pages. And they're like, well, I want to leave it here. And it's like, no, your reporting is broken. It's not going through correctly. So that's a big one. I think the highest I ever saw was 80 pages worth of invoices. So it was a little crazy.
Oh my, yeah. But yes, I think ownership is huge. And this is where, this is one where take the time, block off an hour every day to, to do those audits, because again, this is connecting your financial system with ServiceTitan. And so, why wouldn't you take the time to really make sure that that works for sure? So, woof.
1000%. So back to what you just said, right? So that daily reconciliation, right? So ServiceTitan revenue total versus QuickBook income account total. Build an exception report for unposted batches, over 24 hours old. Audit GL account mapping every time a new business unit or pay type is added. Again, circles back to what I just said, right? So name an owner, put it on a calendar, hold the stand up.
There you go.
So yeah, being able to make sure cleaning everything up is really going to be important. So, 30 plus hours a month and a panicked controller, never good, right? So we want to make sure that we're covering all of those. The other side is, your tax zone and business unit mapping, right? So the problem is wrong tax rate charged on invoices, refunds, and apologies. Revenue lands on the wrong business unit on the P&L. Commissions calculated against the wrong department. Reporting by business unit becomes unreliable. The why here is new service areas added without tax zone configuration, price book items not mapped to the right business unit, job types created without a default business unit assignment, multiple business units share overlapping geography. So the fix here is going to be quarterly review, pull a sample of jobs by zip code, and then validate the tax rates. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on and watch. I just fixed a bunch the other day for that reason too. When you add a service area, add the tax zone in the same week. So if you're going to add an actual zone or area to your group, make sure that you're also adding the tax zones for those areas. Build a business unit blank or a business unit default exception report. Map every job type to a default business unit. Don't leave it to the dispatcher. It makes it a lot easier also based on whatever your job is to map it to the right one so there's no guessing, especially if you have a large amount of business units. So we want to make sure that those are a lot easier for your CSRs when booking. Okay, so how to monitor the 4 reports every shop should run, right? So you can't catch what you can't see. So the 4 reports become your dashboard. So daily, so the sync exception report is actually the pending pending export report. So those are failed batches, unmatched payments, blank required fields. A lot of times you'll get like the GL accounts are wrong. So the biggest one is revenue. Not everybody has just revenue. So we want to make sure that those are always set correctly in your price book. Weekly is the attribution audit. So jobs with no lead source, repeat customer or existing customer incorrectly tagged, phantom campaigns from aggregators. Monthly, you want to do a duplicate scan. There are custom reports that you can create for duplicate customers and duplicate locations. I highly suggest doing that. That is well worth the cleanup and making sure that we're not having multiple customers in the same. So quarterly, we want to do a full integration audit. So every integration. So we want to know what's still in use, the owner named, the SOR documented, data flowing as expected, and then set the cadence, name the owner, calendar the review. That's the entire game. So the integration audit framework. So it's a 5-step process. You can run this quarter, then repeat it forever. So setup, right, is going to be about block 4 hours. Bring your IT contact, your controller, and printout. Don't open laptops. Laptops make people drift. So the 5 steps, right? So inventory, list every integration touching ServiceTitan, including the ones nobody remembers turning on, and make the invisible visible. The big call out for this is especially your APIs. Going in and checking those. If it's something you're not using anymore, you don't need it, or maybe they've done an update and you haven't updated that connection correctly because of whatever they may have modified or changed. Definitely going in and checking that on a very periodic basis or shutting them down. So maybe you're not using this anymore, or you don't need that anymore. Make sure you're going through that. And even if you're doing it quarterly, just to make sure everything's still working. Step 2, document for each, right? So their data flow direction, sync cadence, named owner, last known issue, write it down or it's not real, right? Map. So step 3 is map the SOR. So who's going to be responsible for each data type, identify the system of record and downstream consumers and the turf wars. Step 4, test, pull exception reports, sample 10 records per integration, confirm data matches across systems. So trust, but verify. Step 5, remediate, fix what's broken, document the fix, add the monitoring report, schedule the next audit. Don't just fix, institutionalize.
Yep. And I mean, this is not fun stuff, right? I mean,
no,
this is not the glamorous fun stuff at all, but this is the stuff that is foundational that will make your business run cleanly And so it'll get you out of that reaction mode, right? And that panic mode,
Yeah.
because when something does happen, not if, when, when something does happen somewhere else in your business, you won't have to worry as much about, finding that source of truth, finding the owner. And I mean, think of how much like chaos that causes right now. And so just to have this, this audit and this process laid out is huge. It's absolutely huge. This is not fun. This is not the fun stuff, but not everything that we do.
It's needed, but it's not the fun stuff.
There you
go. So just keep in mind though, if this is the first time you run this, it'll probably take a full day, right? Because you're really kind of going through, you're double checking, you're auditing your own account basically, right? Just to see everything that's working and going through it. And then of course, by the third quarter, it may only take 2 hours, right? That's the whole point. So we want to make sure we're going through it, right?
Yes.
So the key thing, right, is let's be practical, right? You don't have to do this all at once. Pick the next right thing this week, do 3 things, right? So sit down for an hour, list every integration currently connected to your tenant, then write the owner's name next to each one. Any integration without a name on it, that's a problem you can solve in the next 24 hours. And while you're at it, pull yesterday's QuickBooks revenue and yesterday's ServiceTitan revenue and see if they tie. If they don't, that's your starting line. And actually on that note, I'm going to give you guys a quick tip. And I try to always tell this to my clients too. Always know that the completion date is when ServiceTitan recognizes the revenue. The invoice date is when QuickBooks or your accounting system recognizes the revenue. If they don't match, there's going to be discrepancy. So I always want to make that call out. I always want to make sure people aren't closing things when they shouldn't be, that, things are matching because you want apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So just as a quick call out, I want to make sure everybody knows that is the case, that ServiceTitan's completion date is your revenues recognized, invoice date is your accounting system. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that.
Good tip.
Yeah. So this month, do 3 more things, right? Build the daily sync exception report, pending export report, or fix the one you have. Sorry, I should have fixed that in there. Run the duplicate customer scan and triage the worst 50 records and document your system of record decision for customer, job, and financial data. Just 3 documents, 1 page each, pin them on the wall, right? This quarter, block the 4 hours, run the full audit with your team, sunset any integration that isn't earning its seat at the table. And this is the most important part, right? So schedule the next audit on the calendar before you leave the room. So we need to have that follow-up. Same time next quarter, otherwise it won't happen. That's it. That's the whole game. Inventory owner, sync exception report, quarterly audit. Anybody can do this. Most people don't. And that's exactly why the ones who do scale faster and sleep better.
It is so true. And I'd say as you're going back and you're auditing those integrations, really ask yourself, are you really using them? Or is it like I'm going to clean up my closet and, I loved this, at this time, but I'm not using it, but I can get back to it. Make the decision just to cut it. You can always come back to it, right? But absolutely, because again, who knows how much you're spending maybe per month, or again, what that looks like. But if you're not using it, maybe just clear it out, and just again, you could always come back to it when you need it. But I think it's really important again to have a clean start. The audit is to have clean systems and a clean view of what's going on and what's actually working for you. Because honestly, if it's just been sitting there for the last, 9 months, 18 months even, it's not serving a purpose. So why don't you just let it free, like Mary Kondo says, right?
Yep, absolutely. And, doing it in small portions, right, is always the way to do it. And,
exactly.
We're always here to help. We would love to talk with any of you guys if there's anything we can do. Our team loves working through all of these problems with you, and we can help line those out as well. So So that's it for the formal portion, right? So from here, we have about 10 minutes for questions, and I want to make the most of them. So drop them in the chat and I'll work through as many as I can. Before though, I take the first one, right? If this is making you realize your team needs better visibility, cleaner processes, or a stronger plan inside ServiceTitan, reach out to Titan Pro. We can help you identify the gaps, simplify what feels messy, and build a clear path forward for your team. So let's get into the questions. Would love to see if anybody's got anything. We'd love to kind of go over that with you guys and be able to answer any questions you guys have had out there.
Yeah, there was a lot of great information shared. I mean, I even took a couple of nuggets away that I had no clue. I think the biggest thing is, going back to just the again, who owns what. I think that it's so incredibly important because, again, no matter how small or big of an organization you are, definitely having those different owners and, who is the best person, who could take over watching and owning those different kind of integrations, because it can't all be one person. That's a lot. And I think that's the other thing is the bandwidth, right? And so that's why I say, who else are you using? If you do have a third party from a marketing standpoint, can they help, send them the audit or, a CSR if you're using, again, those third parties, you're paying them. So definitely run the reports. And that's the beauty. I do like that about ServiceTitan, where you can run those reports and work through them together. You don't have to just sit there without knowing. And again, if you need help running any of those reports or you want more information, we have a pro right here who can help out too. So.
And there's a lot of great information in there within those data sets. There's even a library of them. If you guys didn't understand what each one of them are, there are ways to go in and see what those data are and what they mean and be able to set those up. But that is one of my favorite things to do is set up some of those custom reports and see how I can get them all melded into what they're looking for. So yeah, those are really exciting.
And I think that the thing is about, I would say about not even those reports, but any reports that you get, you think of Google reports or, just
scheduling them. Yeah.
What do you do with the information? And I think that's where, for someone who isn't, savvy in some of those numbers, or it's like, I have this information, what do I do with it? And I think, how can we handle that? It's like I'm getting all this information from my, agencies or again, from manufacturers, whatever. And I think that's the biggest nugget is, being able to create action items from that. And again, I'm offering you up, Jen, but like, again, we have, she's such a pro at this and she's been doing this for so long that, those are the types of questions that I know that her and her team, want to help solve for you all too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So no question is off limits.
Questions. So I guess, you know what, if we want to throw the QR code up there too, that'd be
great. Yeah.
And again, if you want to, thank you. So yeah, if you want to continue this conversation or you have other questions, please scan the QR code. Let's book some time with our Titan Pro experts. Jennifer's here. Again, her team, we have a huge team that they love, this is all they do and they love it. And so again, just helping you, set yourself up to have again, clean books, a clear path and processes so that you can focus on what matters, which is growing and scaling your business.
Absolutely. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming through. So we're at time and I want to honor that. So thank you so much for spending the last 45 minutes with me. The integration work isn't glamorous, but it's the kind of work that compounds, right? So every report you build, every owner you name, every audit you run, those add up. And 6 months from now, you'll wonder how you ever ran your business any other way. So have a great rest of your day. Take care of each other. And we'll see you at the next session.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, guys.